Of us all, I acknowledge we meet on the unceded country of the Turrbal and Jagera people, and I pay our respects to the elders. I acknowledge that we're a continuation of the women's resistance, which has struggled against patriarchy for millennia. I acknowledge many women, especially lesbians, have lost their lives in this struggle, and that today many of us, including me, have lost employment, friends, and political connections because we fight for women's rights and children's safeguards against the toxic gender identity ideology. And I say we will never give up. I acknowledge all of you for being a part of this struggle. Thanks for your purchases today. They fund the events that I host, including speaker travel costs and the equipment and props that I'm able to buy. Those funds will also be used to run a public meeting to oppose Shannon Fentiman's self-ID bill, and I will organise that public meeting as soon as the Attorney General presents her bill to Parliament. I hope all of you will put in submissions opposing the bill once it's been sent to the Parliamentary Committee, which will make a recommendation to Parliament. But more importantly than the submission stage is the current stage. This is the time we need to be taking to the streets, even though we're small in number. We need to be meeting with our state MPs to explain why they need to dump the bill. We need to be writing to the Attorney General, Shannon Fentiman, and the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk. We need to be letterboxing in our neighbourhood, the IWD Brisbane Meanjin flyer, and we have lots of copies of those flyers for you to take home if you're prepared to just walk around your neighbourhood one afternoon and drop the flyers in people's letterboxes. Some of us have done that already. We need to be speaking with our friends, our family members and neighbours when we can. Now's the time to build a political campaign, and I say to you, do as much as you're comfortable with, and then do more. Thanks to those of you who are wearing burgundy ribbons to show you don't want to be in photographs, we'll respect that. Thanks to the people who are prepared to speak up at these gatherings. Let's smash the myth that opposition to this bill comes only from the right. Support for women, children, lesbians and gays crosses political boundaries. Most of the women I know who are involved are actually left-wing or progressive. We'll have 3 speakers, then the footpath march will be led by Linda carrying the flag, and then we'll have lunch if you want to join the lunch group. Please don't overtake Linda in the footpath march. Chant leaders are Kelly and, just Kelly today. She has a megaphone. Sue and I will be our marshals. We actually have hundreds of flyers for you to give to shoppers and to take home with you for neighbourhood letterboxing. On one side of the flyer are the chants, and on the other side is information about the planned bill that will set us back decades. If you'd like to speak on some aspect of the defence of women's, girls, kids, lesbian and gay rights at our next public rally for 3 to 8 minutes, you're very, very welcome. Please see me today or direct message me at the IWD Brisbane Meanjin Facebook page. The page likes are right down at the moment because I had a Facebook shadow ban for a month on account of the hateful call flutes that you can see around you, none of which are hateful. We've had a couple of positive developments in Australia since we last met. Media Watch was uncharacteristically critical of our ABC for refusing to cover the closure of the British Tavistock Gender Clinic because it was considered unsafe for children. That was a win. Keep in mind, most Australian gender clinics, certainly the one in Brisbane and the one in Melbourne, are modelled on Tavistock's unsafe affirmation-only principles. They've even been legislated for in Queensland and Victoria. Another positive development is that 3 days ago, the Daily Telegraph finally did an expose of ACON, which is Australia's Stonewall. On the same day, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald wrote the first account of an Australian detransitioner who's taking legal action against the psychiatrist who guided her to mutilating surgery. And we need to acknowledge both Kit Kowalski, one of our sisters from Sydney, and Anna Kerr for ensuring that those articles were published. Recently, the brave women prisoners in the Phyllis Frost Correctional Centre in Victoria took up their own petition to have removed from the women's prison a convicted male rapist and pedophile who claims he's a woman. We celebrate that act of bravery by the women prisoners. The Coalition for Biological Reality and the Women's Forum have also started a petition in support of those women. It's on the Facebook pages of both those groups, and I encourage you to sign it and share it. Some of the events in Brisbane around this issue of self-ID, with which the Labor government is so enamoured, show how hostile the policy is to young female workers, whose interests ought to be protected by trade unions and Labor politicians, both of whom have abandoned worker rights in this regard. I'll let you know, before I tell you a story, that you'll soon have the opportunity to join in with Kelly, Evelyn and myself in singing a little songline. We'll sing it once, and then I invite you to join in to sing it twice more before we go to our next speaker. A month ago, I received a message from a woman who had attended our July rally against self-ID. She told me she'd heard at the rally of some men who go into women's lingerie stores and try on the lingerie because it sexually excites them. So she went to one of the lingerie stores and she spoke to the manager there to ask if this happens. The manager said, yes, it does. They have one particular man, a large man, who comes to the store claiming to be a woman to try on the lingerie. He goes into a cubicle to change, and then he parades around the store in the women's underwear. Then he returns to the cubicle and he ejaculates into the women's underwear, which of course has to be destroyed. This is upsetting to the young women who work there because it makes them feel unsafe. They contact store security, who are sympathetic but say they can do nothing about the man because it would breach Queensland state government policy. Store management are sympathetic to the women, but they say all they can do is ensure the young women work in twos. And when we try to tell government MPs about these incidents, and I'm waiting for my fellow singers to join me, we've been blocked by the following MPs in the Queensland government. All Labor MPs, all MPs who claim that they defend the rights of workers. Well, not these young female workers. Don Brown, Labor Capalaba. Nikki Boyd, Labor Strathpine. Joan Peace, Labor Lytton. And Ali King, Labor Palmerston. They don't want to hear about what this gender identity ideology, which they support so enthusiastically, means for young female workers, because young female workers don't count. To Don, Nikki, Joan and Ali, we say, the working class can kiss my ass, I've got the Garvey job at last. Join in, please. The working class can kiss my ass, I've got the Garvey job at last. The working class can kiss my ass, I've got the Garvey job at last. Thank you. Our next speaker is Aoife. Thank you.